Okay. So should I start then? The recording is on.
Well, I don't look as beautiful as I should look, so there's not much I can do about that. So just start.
Wait, I think I need my earphone. Just 2 minutes. So no problem. I'll manage like this. Okay. Yeah. So you're telling me that I have started a new profession. Like art check is not actually a profession. I'm not earning anything from here. It's more of like the passionate side of mine that is working. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I was just adjusting my volume.
Okay.
So, okay,
Okay.
another question. Is it really hot there today?
Let me check the temperature. Well, there is so much humidity. It's rainy season, so not super heat, but yes, it is. The AC is going on, air condition and all. Definitely hot, like because of the humidity. But now, because it's what 9 p.m. almost, so it said like it's 28 degrees Celsius, but it feels like 34.
Right. Okay. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Okay, so
Okay, we can start. We could start.
you can start officially now. Do you have anything else to say, like other than the recording part, just to me?
No, we could just start. I want to thank you for this opportunity
Oh,
because I'll tell you a story. When I was in college at the university,
hmm.
I of architecture, we had they would give us either a 5 week or a 10 week design problem of some kind of building to design, and I was tremendously timid, and I never worked at the university. I always did my work at home, which
Okay.
means I didn't work with a teacher or anything. And then when you were done with the project, there's a room in the building where they hang them up for you, and then you have to come in front of the class and all the professors to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, I was too shy to be able to do that, and
There's
I would lose a
Zuri's
whole grade
patience.
point. I would lose a whole grade point
Hmm.
from not showing up. And that's where I started years and years ago. And through, so this is part of my advancement of changing an attitude.
Great. Nice. You live alone?
I do.
Hmm. Okay. So let us
What?
recording.
Why did you laugh at that?
No, um, because
I'm not
even
upset by it. I'm
no,
not upset by it. I'm
no,
just curious.
I know that, and I'm really envy of that because even like we always feel lonely na every time. Like we need someone. But the thing is that you can like blissful by yourself, and that is the ultimate result that I can see just right in front of me. So that's why I'm saying.
Yes, I'm 87 and I'm still taking care of myself
Yeah.
by myself.
Okay. So Bruce, welcome to Art Check. Um, and I'm really happy that you are here once again. How are you feeling?
I feel fine right now.
Okay. So in our last conversation, we really didn't have the chance to go deeper into the work of Gurdjieff, but this time we're planning to do so. So let's start the conversation. I have three questions for you. I'll read it out exactly the way I wrote it to you before so that I could make sure the points properly. So my first question is in the East, it's very normal for us to have a master in order to learn about uh, esoteric knowledge. I'm very curious to know how was it for you? Was it your experience that helps you to understand, or do you have any friends or master? What will you say about that?
It's a complicated situation. Um, I did come across a master um, 25 or more years ago, but I started when I was 40 years old, becoming interested in Gurdjieff and the Fourth Way. And I belonged to a cult for a number of years, 5 years. And that guy was full of all kinds of crazy stuff, which I believed everything he said. And anyway, I reached a point where they kicked me out because I couldn't make the payments. It was very expensive.
Right.
And that was a very, very good thing that happened to me. But then I literally wandered as an itinerant artist across the United States for a year or two. And then eventually I ended up in New York City. And I wanted to be in a group, but I could not afford one. And I went to several meetings of guys leading groups, and they didn't appeal to me.
Hmm.
And then one day I got frustrated and I started my own group. And there were four of us, and I felt totally inadequate
Oh.
because I knew I had nothing to teach, nothing to lead them to. And then one day, one guy in my group found a flyer on the street in the village, and it was about this guy that was going to give a talk at Carnegie Hall. Not the big room. Carnegie Hall has a lot of meeting rooms and things. So we all went, and this guy had been with Madame de Saltzman, who was Gurdjieff's best pupil, for living in Paris for 30 years. So he said, he had something, but that was to be discovered. And so we all joined his group
Hmm.
because now I'd be relieved. I didn't have to try to teach something I didn't know. And very shortly, I began having what we call experiences. In other words, feeling an energy coming down into me that um, shows through this energy, this higher energy, the truth about our condition, the fact that we're machines and our bodies are just automatons. And it was astounding to see that. But this energy that brought that knowledge into me also brought compassion, gratitude, hope with it. So it was an extraordinarily wonderful experience. And so I absolutely knew that this guy was a real master. because he was connected to this higher energy. And so I knew I had needed a master, and I knew that this was the real thing. So I had a master, and I stayed with him for over 25 years
Okay.
until I knew inside myself that there was something more than just my body, something higher. You spoke earlier about the 4 bodies that Gurdjieff talked about. But I knew that there was the first body inside me. We could call it an astral body, but
Yeah.
it's an energy, a very intelligent energy that's separate from the body, and literally it's not part of the body, but it's in the body, and it can show the body what to do. It can make independent choices. In other words, I'm not always subject to the whims of the body, because there's something separate in me that can decide to do what's necessary rather than to do what I feel like doing. But this is not all the time. This is sometimes. And so that would be a master in that sense that you're speaking of. But there's also different levels of masters. There's the second body and then the third body and so forth. But yes, we do need a master. But it's not like a guy that owns slaves
Mm-hmm.
and he tells everybody what to do. It's so subtle and so beautiful,
Yeah.
so very different from that.
Yeah. Nice. And thanks for the answer. And here comes question number 2, which is like you touch a bit of it. We know that there are 4 types of body and 7 types of man in Gurdjieff's philosophy. So one type of man, when have one type of body, it is certain that they have achieved a certain type of knowledge. A lower being is unable to understand the higher being. It means the combination of knowledge and being is different for different types of people. And with proper work, evolution will happen and you can achieve higher energy with the higher being. So could you please explain it to us briefly? I know it's an intense topic, but maybe you just can like give a little glimpse of it.
I met a woman yesterday, remarkable woman. She was a technician. I had to go to the Veterans Administration hospital to get an EKG, and she was one of the technicians that gave me a EKG. And I think she was from Haiti, and she started talking weird to me. Calling herself daddy and weird stuff. And so I didn't know what to make of her. And so we talked more and more. And I told her some things about myself. And she told me things about herself,
Mm-hmm.
that she could do something. I can't do that. I know some people that can. But she could feel other people.
Right.
She could literally feel what they were feeling, whether it was bad or good, or she could feel whether they were bad people or good people, or you know anything like this. And she had an explanation, which is actually exactly the same as Gurdjieff's. She said, "Our body is an empty vessel, and what animates it is the spirit inside it."
Yeah.
And that was so perfect, so exactly the same as Gurdjieff's explanation of the different bodies in it. But Gurdjieff uses different words. He says our body is totally mechanical. It's an automaton. It's a stimulus response machine. There's a stimulus, and inside our body is an automatic response.
Hmm.
And that happens all day long. We don't notice it.
Yeah.
And when you begin to notice it, you begin to see something, maybe. The response, the stimuli, and the response you have is always exactly the same. And we can go through the day and we can have four slightly different stimuli and they come up with the same response. We have exactly the same reaction and we never see it. It's always hidden from us that we are just acting out these, just like a car. You, you press the gas and it goes, you put it, uh, change the gear and it changes something. You turn the wheel and it turns. Doesn't know that it's being driven. If a car had a mind of some kind, it would think it was doing all this itself. And that's our situation. We do exactly the same things over and over and over again. So how do we escape that?
Hmm.
We escape that by creating a new body in us. But we cannot create that new body on our own because it's like a different dimension.
Hmm.
And so we receive help from either inside or outside us. I do not know. And it helps us pass over the chasm between the kind of energy we live in and the kind of energy of the universe, which is our natural state. So we fill our body, and Gurdjieff, to do that, to create a new body, we have this energy in us, and sometimes we experience it. An example would be if are a runner, we start running, and then pretty soon we get really tired. And if we keep running, suddenly there's a influx of just this fine energy. And then we feel that we can run forever. And that's the same energy we're talking about here. Only um, people don't know what it is, but we don't have enough. We have to create enough of that energy in our body that it will crystallize and become a second body. And then we go on. I don't have a third body, but we go on and do something similar and have a third body, create a third body. I don't, I doubt I have much time for that left. Um, so, yes, there are, I don't know about the fourth body. I didn't hear about the fourth body. But there at least can be two bodies in us, separate from our physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that is in Eastern language, but I'm sure it's all the same, just different words describing it.
Okay. So, whatever the man types, like from man 1 to 7, and also the consciousness divide thing. Actually, this thing I read, Sperinski's writing, The Evolution of Man's Possible, um, that book for me. So, have you read that book? I'm sure you are, because it's the fourth way also contained the first part of this.
Well, man 1, 2, and 3 are just descriptions of somebody that's centered and in their moving center, and maybe they don't think so much, and they like physical work, maybe construction work and stuff like that. Man number 2 is centered in his emotions, and that's still totally mechanical. And emotional people get excited. Um, but they do, it may be an artist, it may be an actor, um, it may be a greeter that likes people because they're centered in their emotions. And a man number 3 is centered in his intellectual part, and he likes to read and think, and he has all kinds of jobs. But in these 3 centers, they all work separately in us. And so they cannot create a new body, because they all have different speeds of energy that runs them. And so they don't even know each other. And you may say you want to think about something, you want to write something, but your emotional center doesn't feel like doing that. And that's my case all the time. And so it keeps telling you, stop this stuff. You need to rest. Get up, go in the kitchen, have something to eat, and all this stuff that drives you away from what you need to do. And so how do we bring those centers, for those centers to work toward consciousness, toward the same aim? They have to be working from the same energy. And so to build a second body, they have to be working at the same energy.
Yeah.
And so there's this, you have to learn how to make them work at the same energy. In other words, if you have an idea and you want to write about it, or if you have an idea and you want to work it out, when we have an idea, our intellectual center has no force behind it. It is just an empty idea. You can get all excited about a idea, and 1 minute later, you're thinking about something else, and that first idea that you were tremendously excited about is totally gone. You don't even remember it. So, but if you've gotten the emotional center excited about it, then it would act as a force to help you activate that idea. And then the moving center moves the parts to do that. But anyway, so we're to just create another body in this is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
And yet this energy is always here. It's in us. You can, if you have enough energy in you, that's crystallized, Sometimes you can just turn your head and activate it.
Yeah.
But I don't know about the second body, and definitely not about the third.
Okay. So man 1 to man 7, body 1 to body 4. And for this evolution or for this journey, one needs to work. Work is a term of Gurdjieff's philosophy. And I think self-remembering is the key elements of that work. And you write a lot about it in your Facebook post, like small details about your one particular feeling, but you can write like in detail that how self-remembering working for you at those moments. So can you share about it? Like what is self-remembering actually and how we can imply it into our daily life?
Well, self-remembering is a sentence or a couple words. Um, we don't remember ourselves because we're always constantly in associate into different eyes. For example, there's a exercise that's given to beginning fourth grade students, and that is when you walk through a doorway from one room to the other, be aware of yourself walking through that doorway, and then the next one and the next one. And that's a way of self-remembering,
Mm.
being aware of yourself with what you're doing as you're doing it. Except that particular exercise is everybody fails. And and it's given for that very reason, because it's given to show us that we cannot do, that man cannot do. We just don't remember that, to do that. And so how do we remember ourselves and be aware of what we are doing, what we are thinking, where our arms are, where our hands are, what we're feeling, um, as often as possible? We're made in such a way that it's totally impossible to do it all the time.
Yeah.
But we need to do it as often as possible. And the more we can do it, the better off we are. There are different ways to do that, but this is self-remembering, to be aware of where you are, what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're feeling at that moment, without judgments.
Hmm.
It's not trying to make one a better machine. It's not with judgments, to just be aware of what's going on, what we're doing. We're never aware.
Yeah.
So I try to help people, like I talk to myself because I don't want to preach. So I
Okay.
use the first person all the time. Um, but I give people ideas of work ideas. And one of the best ones I have, but they don't work always. It works for a while and then it doesn't work anymore. Gurdjieff said we have to do what the body does not feel like doing. And when we do that, we cause friction. And this friction brings an energy into us.
Yeah.
It adds to our energy, our fine energy. And so, for example, if I'm sitting in a chair and I remember, see how I'm sitting, see what my posture is. And so I sit up with a straight posture because it makes it physically easier for the energy to come into us. And I do that. And about half a second later, my body's telling me, oh, relax and uh, don't worry about sitting up straight. Put your arm over here. And I may do that. And if I'm working and remembering myself, I'll notice something that happens. I'll notice that as soon as I do that, I have a different attitude. I'm a completely different person. I'm not the same person. But I have to do that without judging, just seeing it. And then so I sit up straight again, and then another half second later, I put my arm on the armrest of the chair, or I slouch again, and I see that, and I go back up. And I've also seen that I'm a totally different person when I have a totally different attitude and a different personality as soon as I change my posture. So each time we change our posture, we become a different person.
Something shifted.
And if we put our attention on that, we will begin to see it.
Yeah.
And it'll bring us energy. And that energy is what we need to collect to build a second body.
Right. Thanks a lot for sharing it. And thank you very much because you're here with us. Any last word, Bruce, for the audience?
No, I'm really glad for this opportunity. And I hope it will help somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. And I'm really grateful that you're here. It's really, really refreshing. And I felt good that today, at least, we attempt to like touch some
The
sensitive
script.
issues, some maybe which is like really tough to explain, but because it's practical, it's not theoretical, it's mostly practical. But I hope um, people will listen and they will like they might they might get interest and they will read and they'll come to you. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shuprova.
Okay.
And we'll talk later.
Yeah, sure. Bye.
Bye.